Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the National Timely Action Hour. This is the show where we talk about everything from comic books to Doctor Who and everything in between. My name is Aidan, and I hope that you're doing well today. So, in today's video, I wanted to do a review of Doctor Who from Marvel Comics, specifically the first story arc that they published. So, this story is called Doctor Who and the Iron Legion, and it was written by Pat Mills and John Wagner. It was drawn and lettered by Dave Gibbons, and the editor was Des Skin. There's no color because this is a black and white comic book, but I thought, since I love Marvel Comics and I love Doctor Who, why not review Doctor Who by Marvel Comics? Now you might be thinking, how in the hell did Marvel make Doctor Who comics? Well, to be quite frank with you, I don't know all of the details, but what I do know is that in 1979, shortly after establishing their London base for the European market, Marvel Comics headquarters is in New York City and still is to this day, but they established an office in London, England, and they also set up the printing presses there so that they could print and distribute comics in the European and North African market. And they called it Panini Comics, which is why on the spine here we have the Panini Comics logo. But when they established the office in London, they were reprinting Captain America, Spider-Man, and all their popular series, but they decided, okay, well, we should make some more money off of this base by making a new series that's specific to this office. And so they went around looking for licenses of properties that they could make comics based off of, and the BBC agreed to give them the license to create and publish Doctor Who comics based off of the hit television series. And from there they just found writers and artists. Now the majority of these stories published in this collection are all drawn by Dave Gibbons, and this is before he drew Superman, Green Lantern, and most famously Watchmen. But he was still an established artist, and so this is really him stretching his creative muscles, because they come up with some weird shit in this, to be completely frank. And he does a fantastic job rendering the likeness of, at the time, the current Doctor, Tom Baker. And as the show went on and changed into Peter Davison, then Colin Baker, then Sylvester McCoy, I think Gibbons had left after or during Peter Davison's tenure as the Fifth Doctor, but the artists that they hired would, draw the Doctor to look like the actor who was currently playing him on television. And like I said, I think Gibbons does a really good job approximating Tom Baker. So let me show you some of the artwork here before I get into this review. Here we have the Doctor up here. So the Iron Legion is an 8-part story that was published over the first 8 issues of Doctor Who. However, each issue that they published, they'd have one part of several stories. I think it was 4 or 5 stories that they would run, part 1, part 2, part 3. But, issue number 1 is part 1 of the Iron Legion, and each individual issue contains a part of a different story arc, of 4 different story arcs, excuse me. But to focus on the Iron Legion, the first of actual story arc, the Doctor is making a pit stop in this English village, but it's not from his reality, as he quickly figures out. So the Doctor lands in a reality where the Roman Empire never fell, and so they advanced, and this is 2,000 years in the future from where the current Doctor is living, so 1979. So the year is 3021, but in an alternate universe. And I really enjoy the writing. I just wanted to get that out of the way, and I had already talked about how much I appreciate the artwork, so I just wanted to say that I think it's a very well written story. The dialogue is great in my opinion. It's very funny, and overall the structure is, you know, like an episode of the TV show. So it's, you know, bit of dialogue, bit of action, then cut. Bit of dialogue, bit of action, then cut. And I really like that approach to storytelling. So I really appreciate this story for doing that. But once the Doctor figures out that he's in an alternate universe, he is attacked. Well, he learns this by being attacked by robot legionnaires, and he's captured and becomes a slave.
Captain, you don't realize what you're doing. If you just listen to me...
I shall listen to you when I hear you scream.
He's helped by a guy named Morris, who's a cyborg because he was tortured and experimented on and then sold into slavery. And so the Doctor and Morris meet up with this guy named Vesuvius, and they all take down the Empire. That's basically the gist of the story, but it's very, like I said, it's very well put together. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being dog shit and 10 being amazing, I would have to give this a 10 out of 10 because it really grabs you right out of the gate, in my opinion. I'm sure that, you know, there are people who would disagree with me. As we all know, art is subjective, but I really like, especially there's this one bit where when the general, who's like the main muscle of the Empire, who's like the main threat, the general is praying to the gods of Rome, and we learn that they're not who they say they are. Again, I don't really want to get into spoilers, but they're not who they say that they are, and the general is praying, and the gods are like giving him orders, and this one centurion, or centurion if you're speaking Latin properly, this one centurion wants to speak to the general, but the guy's like, sure, he's in communion with the gods. Do you want to die? He's like, oh, right, yeah. And the way it's presented is just hilarious, in my opinion. I definitely recommend that you buy it. I bought this on Amazon, I believe, for like $30 Canadian. And this, as you can see here, it says, includes the Star Beast as seen on TV. Now, the Star Beast is the 4th story arc in here, and that was adapted into one of the 3 60th anniversary specials for Doctor Who back in 2023. But yeah, so I haven't read all of the stories here, and since it's, you know, broken up into parts, it was quite breezy to get through, although, you know, one could argue that that is a bit of a detriment because it doesn't give you a lot of time to breathe, a lot of time to process, but it is really, you know, determined on your taste, obviously, but I think that it goes by pretty quickly, but in a very concise manner. So, like I said, I'd have to give this a 10 out of 10 because I think that it's absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, that's all I have for you today on this video for the National Timely Action Hour. Once again, my name is Aiden, and I sincerely hope that you all have a wonderful day. And if you're new to my show and want to check out more content like this, then please click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when I post new videos. And please leave a comment suggesting any future videos and letting me know if you've read this story, your thoughts on it, and just giving me any constructive criticisms. And in the description of the video, I'll leave links to my social media profiles, so if you'd like to send me a message and stay up to date on my show, then please check that out. And I'll also leave a link to my podcast, so if you'd like to hear me discuss the same topics but you don't have time to watch a full video, please subscribe and share that with your friends. And I'll also leave links to my Patreon page and merch store, so please consider supporting the channel financially by clicking on those links. But before I leave you, I just want to show you some more of the artwork. Here we have the general in communion with the gods, and here's the emperor and his mother. And like I said, I think that the artwork is absolutely spectacular. They've got zeppelins instead of rowboats, you know, like the slaves are rowing the boat, but here they're flying the zeppelin. I think it's just really cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I sincerely hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye.